really interesting, because what we don't want to do is have you guys kind of come in, listen to someone half an hour, go out there, chat to the same people you chat to already 1,000 times over, then come back in here, watch another one. We're going to try and make it sort of fun and interesting. So Rachel's got to do a few bits of sort of health and safety stuff, so if the fire alarm goes off, what we all need to do, run out the doors, obviously. She's going to tell you a little bit about NetXL as well, a bit of history to that. And actually, we're lucky enough to have Camilla here today, and I'll highlight her over there, who works for an MSP in Cornwall, who was one of the original 2 people at NetXL, actually. So I didn't know she was coming, so I was amazed when I walked downstairs. Oh, and you're pregnant, congratulations. Rachel will give you a bit of that history, and you can learn a little bit about what NetXL is all about. We obviously have a sister company in the same building. I'm sure you've seen Yay.com. They're a major VoIP telecom provider. They carry about 20 million calls a month across the network. So we can tell you a bit about that if that becomes of interest too. And I think after Rachel has said hello, I think we're then seeing Dratec. I'll let you cover the agenda. And then I know I'm with you just briefly to demonstrate the Smart Lock, the Bold Smart Lock, which is a new product for us that we've got distribution on in the UK that we're super excited about. It's just an awesome product. It's kind of hard to demo though, because you need to install it into a door. So I'm going to sort of show it to you up here, and then I've actually installed one on the shower door, which is about the tightest possible place in the whole building to get to. So for those that are interested, you can all kind of crowd over, and I'll literally fit one and unfit one, and you can see what it does, because it's really neat. So without further ado, over to Rachel.
Thank you. So thank you very much everyone for coming today. We're all really excited to have you here. I'll start with the health and safety stuff, just to get that boring bits out of the way. So in terms of if we need to evacuate, there is a fire door out there, so you can just pop through the kitchen or the front door, of course. There are no fire drills scheduled for today, so if you do hear the alarm, please just pop out. I'm your fire marshal, but if you don't see me, find someone else in NetXL. And we'll just meet across the road at the Unit 1. So that's it, but hopefully we can all stay in here and enjoy the day. So just to give you a little bit of a background about NetXL for anyone who doesn't know, so Matt kind of touched on it a little bit. Yay.com is our sister company, and we started out when Yay.com kind of launched in 2014, basically thinking that customers weren't going to want actual physical phones. But soon customers were going, thank you so much for the service, can I buy a phone for me please? So we went out and bought some phones, to send out alongside the service. And then there were some reports from customers basically saying, the platform's not quite working how I need it to be. And we said, well, it is working because it's a platform and it's not just down for you. It might be your router that BT or Virgin Media have sent you just isn't capable of handling that VoIP traffic. So we went out and bought a load of Dratec routers and started sending them to those customers who were experiencing that trouble. And lo and behold, not only did Yay.com work better than ever, but actually they're going, my internet has improved tenfold, and can I get some access points from you and some switches? And so organically, that kind of evolved into NetXL launching in 2016. So we've been very focused on essentially providing solutions for our customers, and that's really the ethos that we have throughout the business. So with our kind of technical background in Yay.com, we're very much a technical business, not only in the products that we sell, of course, but also in kind of how we operate as a business. So those developers that built the Yay.com platform actually have built NetXL's entire fulfillment platform, which means we can be really innovative and creative in kind of the service that we're offering to you as our customers, to the point where we've created an API to offer our trade customers the ability to automate things like checking prices and placing orders. And for us, we know how important it is to kind of get the products you need and quickly. So our whole ethos is, okay, we want to make sure we give you that service. So that's why we worked really hard to get a 7 p.m. cutoff for next day delivery, which is one of the latest in the industry. So we're really pleased with that. And of course, we've launched our Sunday collection as well. So you can order up until 3 p.m. on Sunday and get your parcels on Monday. And with that, we also offer a fully white label service if you want us to send any orders directly to your site. So we can do that plain wrap, or we can also upload your own company's logo and it looks like it's coming directly from you. And we even created a completely separate courier account so that it doesn't trace back to NetXL at all, which is the main thing. And of course, alongside that, every step of the way of your journey, you've got our wonderful customer support team who's there to recommend any products that you need, and also working with the rest of the team to get you the products as quickly as possible at those best prices, because we know how important that is to you and your business. So with all that, thank you so much for coming today. Like Matt said, we don't want to keep it kind of very formal. It's very much about getting to know everyone, meeting everyone in person, seeing how we, with the help of our brands, can continue supporting you and your businesses. And essentially just getting to know products that you might not have actually been able to interact with before. So the general plan for today, we're going to have Peter from Draytech come on in a second to do a little bit of a talk. As Matt said, then he's going to do a demonstration on a new product that we've recently launched. It's so new that we've actually literally launched it in the last month. So for everyone here today, we've actually got some bespoke promotional pricing for you for the end of the year. So essentially any orders that you'd like to place, you'll get some really attractive pricing. So keep an eye out from an email from Jade within the next few days to kind of see how you can claim that. After that, we've got lunch coming around 12:30. And we'll also have Aruba, so we've got Ollie from Aruba Instant on to run through the portfolio. And then we'll also have Hugo from Pointing giving us a little bit of a lesson on all things antennas. And yeah, that's kind of the plan for today, but obviously interact with everyone. And to round the day off, we've got Stephen from Snom who's going to be doing a giveaway, so you'll get some prizes as well. So without further ado, Peter from Draytech. Thank you very much. Do you need anything at this point?
You mind?
Yeah.
It's the right one, I think.
Talk amongst yourselves for 5 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, between there and here, it decided to do an update and reboot itself. Yeah, just bear with. So, who's technical in the audience?
What's the issue?
Okay.
Yeah.
Any questions? Then I'm pretty safe. But I do have Mihai on hand, and whilst this is all doing this, we are warriors of the road today. We are warriors of planes, trains, and automobiles. This chap flew in from Jordan just to be here. hence the tan. And when and when I saw him arrive, he looked like he walked from Jordan. But seriously, I think he landed about 2 o'clock this morning.
But that little lock basically is held in by a single screw there. That's all it is, just that one single screw. And those cylinders pull out. And they come in different sizes and lengths because this is a thick door. The screw might be 40 millimetres to the left of this side, and it might be 60 millimetres to the left of that side. So that would be what they call a 40-60 Euro cylinder. So they come in different sizes, but they're just basically a cylinder held in by one screw. So here's one I took out the door earlier. This one has got a thumb turn on the end, which isn't unusual because you'd have the key part on the outside of the building, maybe it's on a patio door or something, and you want the thumb turn on the inside. But they come in all kinds of different flavours. This isn't a bold cylinder, this is just what you would buy in B&Q, tool station, Screwfix, whatever. So you take that little screw, unscrew it out the side of the door, And when it's in the door, the screw is sitting like that, holding that lock in. And that's literally the only way that lock is held in that door. So if you imagine it going through the door, it's just held in by the screw. When your key goes in that side, you turn your key, this bit in the middle turns and essentially activates the door and does whatever it should do. In this case, on the other side, we've got a thumb turn, so if I was on the inside of the door, I'd just turn it, I wouldn't need the key, it would open it. They quite often come, you know, double-ended with keys. That's the common thing that you'll see. You see a key at both ends. But these Euro cylinders, you often see them in PVC type doors, but you'll see them, try and look around the building, there's one on our shower door, I think there's one on a couple of other doors in this building, but they're really becoming more and more common, and you can replace a normal mortise lock with a Euro cylinder equivalent, so they're quite common. So what Bold does is, first of all, it comes in all of these different colours, which is new. So this is the standard Bold Smart Lock, looks like this. Then we've got a black one, literally fresh in this week. We're the only people in the world, I think, to have our hands on these at the minute. Then we've got a rose gold Smart Lock. I quite like that one, actually. And then we have a gold one, and I have to say, when I saw the gold one, I thought, who on earth's going to want the gold Smart Lock? And then somebody gave me a sample of a door that was gold, and I thought, oh, actually, maybe someone is going to want that. So it might be a good retrofit. But basically, all these are is the same thing. It's just a cylinder with a bit of intelligence on this end, and then a thumb turn on this end. This thumb turn unscrews. So there's a little Allen key on it. You just unscrew it, and then it comes off. And once that's off, you can now see how you slide it into the door. You pull out the old cylinder, just slots out. You push in the new cylinder, you put the thumb turn on the end, you put the screw back in the door, and you smart enable the door. It's literally as simple as that, and it takes minutes. And what I might do is drag those of you that are particularly interested to the shower door in a minute, and we'll actually do it so you can see how easy it is to install. It is so easy to install, it's not true. Hi, you guys. Come and feel uncomfortable somewhere on the side of the room for a minute. So, sorry about that. Just explaining the Bold Smart Lock. The great thing about this, and why I was hell-bent on getting distribution for us on this, there are other competitors out there doing similar things. So August Smart Lock's probably one you've heard of. That's like one of the most popular ones. Yale have a range as well. But they're all a bit cumbersome and a bit naff. Or they sit over an existing lock, and like you leave the key in the lock and it kind of turns the key. They're all also motorised. And this isn't motorised. Which, to start with, you have to sort of get your head around a little bit and say, oh, I want a motorised one. Well, why? You know, this works exactly the same way as a key would. So if you turn your key, this is going to do exactly what would happen with turning the key. The result of it not being motorised is that the battery life is a good couple of years. So it's not like a Ring. If anyone's got a Ring doorbell, I mean, who's installed a Ring doorbell and then after maybe 6 months never used it again, right? Because to start with, you're like, yeah, I'm going to charge this every time it runs out of battery. You know, then after a while, you're like, yeah, can anyone even remember where the funky screwdriver is to get it off of the wall and recharge it? Doesn't happen with this. And then when you do come to change that battery after a couple of years, it's like a hearing aid type simple change. You know, it's not rechargeable, but it's super easy. And the price points for them are like half the price of the August lock, so they're really good. They come in different lengths because it's got different doors, right? So the length and the important measurement is from that centre pin of the hole. You measure it back this way and you measure it back that way. So you might have a 40 this way and you might have a 60 this way, for example. This bit is probably the most confusing bit on this smart lock. This bit is the inside part, not the outside part. Sometimes everybody thinks that needs to go on the inside. This works just like a normal thumb turn. So on the inside, you turn that, you'll open your door. You can see it moving the mechanism there. The bit on the outside is the bit that I took off and put somewhere helpfully.
To the right.
Right.
Yeah, there it is. Oh, it's gold. I didn't see it. This bit that you took off. This is your thumb turn as such on the outside. But the big difference is, as you can see, because I'm sort of holding that mechanism in the middle, that will just turn and turn and turn and turn. There's no coming in with it because it's not doing anything. The minute you activate the lock, that suddenly goes hard, and now it will activate the pin in the middle. So that's kind of the clever bit. The whole lock has SKG 3-star rating, which is a big deal. That's the highest rating you can get for a lock, which basically means that with heavy tools and 5 minutes, you can get through the lock. Okay, but that's the highest rating possible by any security standard, because if anyone's ever tried to get a lock out of one of these, which I literally did myself just a couple of weeks ago on a shed I've got, I reckon I'd got that lock out in less than a minute with a drill. Just drilling through the middle, the whole thing kind of falls apart and I'm off and running. So they actually, a normal cylinder has a lower SKG rating than an actual smart cylinder. Once you've installed it, you then get a lovely app to work with, which is very hard to demonstrate, but I will do it on the door in a minute. But the app...
What happens if the internet is down?
Good solution for that. Good question. Did we put you in the audience just for that question? So the app looks like this, really lovely to work with. You basically just click that button there to activate the lock. It's as simple as that. And then you can set how long the lock is activated for. By default it's 10 seconds, but it could be 20 seconds. You then got all kinds of control over what users are in the lock, not in the lock. Say you've got a cleaner that only comes on Tuesdays between 10 in the morning and 12 lunchtime. Well, you can only let her in to use the lock between those times. You can share it remotely too. So say you've got a builder that's on your way to your house, it works by mobile phone numbers. You just put his number in, Bob the builder, send him a text message, and then he downloads the app and he's in. And then once the builder's done, you can turn it off. Don't let him come back. You're in control of that list. And then finally, you have, so it works via Bluetooth when you're next to the lock. I think it's Bluetooth 5 actually, so you can be quite a distance away. And there is some tech there in terms of you getting closer and closer. You can have auto activation, so as you get close to it, it'll just open for you. But if you don't want to use Bluetooth, if you want to open it remotely, say you're at work, then you get the Connect module. And the Connect module essentially just bridges your Wi-Fi to the Bluetooth on the lock. So you just put it somewhere near the lock, inside the house, set that up. They're really easy to set up, all the bold stuff. You just literally click there and pair it with the app. It's as simple as that. And then that will build that bridge. So now you can open the lock remotely from anywhere in the world, to people to come in. Finally, what happens if your mobile's run out of battery?
You just said it. Or
It's brilliant because this thumb turn works like a key safe. And I've actually done it on the one on the shower and door. So you can set a 6-digit PIN, for want of better words, that you can use in an emergency. Now, the minute you set that PIN, it takes away the SKG rating, I should add, just so that you're aware, for obvious reasons. But I also think it's that ingenious that I don't think many people are going to work out that's a good way in. But that 6-digit PIN, it can be up to nine characters, between 1 and 9, so numerals. And basically it works like if I set a PIN that's 1, 2, nice simple one, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, for example, I turn 1, I turn twice, I turn 1, I turn twice, I turn 1, I turn twice, beep beep, and I'm in. It's activated. So it's really cool. And that's not turn it to 1 o'clock, turn it to 2 o'clock. It's not one full turn, 2 full turns. It's not like you've got to be a rocket scientist to try and make it work. It's literally 1 turn, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 1. And a few times I've done it, it hasn't worked. I'm like, okay, I'll go a little bit slower, or a little bit more sort of determined, for want of better words, and then I'm in. But it's not like you have to go to a clock position, say you're opening a safe or something. It's literally just detects the movement. And you can do it in both directions. So you don't have to start with 1 to the left, you can start 1 to the right. You just got to follow the combination. And like I say, it's up to 9. So it could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 that way, 2 that way, 4 that way. You can kind of set that up as you like. And you can have up to 4 pins as well. And all of this comes with an audit trail in the app. So, you can know if the kids have used the pin, not used the pin, how they've got in, how they haven't got in, what time they got in, when it was activated, and so on. And then finally, for the ultra protection, there's a little clicker.
Yeah, maybe I'm doing
So-
too much when I'm lost my number.
So the clickers are fantastic because you literally just press the click and it activates the lock. It's as simple as that. So maybe you've got someone in the household that's elderly, they don't even want to send a text message, let alone use their mobile phone, or do 1 turn, 2 turns, 3 turns, 4 turns. Well, that's where you'd use a clicker. Personally, I wouldn't install it on my main door. That wouldn't be my choice because, if I was going to put it on my main door, well, getting your mobile phone out every time you get to the door, using the proximity stuff could get a little bit annoying, I think, for me. So I put mine on my back door and find it fantastic. But I do know somebody, actually, a friend of mine, that's how I first discovered the brand, and she'd put it on her actual main front door and uses it all the time to let people in and out of the house, cleaners, babysitters. She works very late at night on really odd shifts, and it's perfect for her. So in those kinds of scenarios, I'm sure it could work quite well. So that's the pretty awful demo of Bold. It looks like Peter's ready. So I'm going to hand you back to Peter, but then once Peter's done his thing, we can maybe break for a drink or whatever. And during that time, I'll be by the shower room, which is opposite the toilets. Come see me, because I'll be the dude hanging out by the toilets. And I can literally take one out, put one in. It takes seconds to do it. So you can have a go yourself, you can use the app, and you can get a feel for what it's all about. It's a really good product. So there we go. Over to Peter.
Thanks, Matt.
Cheers.
I needed that on Saturday night when my daughter lost her handbag and said, "Can you..." That's all I can say. It's working. I'm really happy. I'm Peter Convey, UK Channel Manager at Draytech. On the front here, this man's come all the way from Jordan, as I've said this morning. No, I'm going to use it all day because it shows commitment. He gets off the plane, doesn't go to sleep, and comes straight here. And Mihai's going to do part of the presentation around ACS, which is Draytech's management platform for route switches, access points. I'm going to try not to talk about model numbers, because it may mean nothing to you. Apart from everybody at NetExcel will know what every single model number is, because, don't we, Jess? Because I'm always talking about them. This is more about technology, where it's going, what the view is, and we've got, obviously, competitors in the audience. We've got Aruba and TP-Link. It'll be interesting to see if the views match, or I sit in the TP-Link one later and it's a completely different view, but I think we're all going in the same direction. So, for those people that don't know much about Draytech, just a quick potted history. A bit of positioning around Draytech, connectivity options, where we are, where it's going, where the opportunities are, a little bit around Wi-Fi standards. Sometimes I get confused between radios and throughput and bandwidth. Business products versus consumer. I'll say it now, the same presentations. If you say something 3 times, it really goes in. So you'll have to count if I said it 3 times. So Draytech do not make consumer products. Draytech make business products. That's all we make. 1. And then Mihai is going to pick up and just talk about ACS. And the plan was, if Mihai didn't make it today, I was going to do it. And my slides would have been 3 rather than 10. So, how many people have heard of Draytech, know the history of Draytech, or worked or bought Draytech? Oh, good, brilliant, 50%. So, what makes us so special? Based in Taiwan. Draytech owns the IP, the intellectual property of all the devices that they make. Draytech only make products for Draytech, but they have worldwide distribution. And from a coding perspective, from what's on the box, how we manage the units, how we change the configuration, is something called Drayos, or Draytech Operating System. So from a secure perspective, it's our own code on the box. This is interesting. The UK is the largest worldwide region. Now, I've worked for lots of vendors over the years. You can tell I've been around the houses, you know, Samsung, Panasonic, Toshiba, and a few other places. And every time they look at statistics and they look at products and where they're going to develop a particular category, they'll look at North America and the US as being the leading light on where that technology is going. But you all know from a connectivity perspective that the US and North America are actually now somewhat behind us. But because Draytech UK was the first office opened outside of Taiwan, that has made the UK the largest worldwide region, hands down. All the support is in the UK. We don't use an outsourced call centre, and we've got some support in Ireland as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Half of the support team is in Ireland.
Yeah. Other great thing is the people that work for Draytech have been in Draytech a long time. Mihai's been here 6 years. I'm going to add both my stints up. I've been here 2 years because I went and came back. I loved it. And it was founded in 1996. So Draytech goes back absolutely ages. If you talk to most business partners and you hear the word Draytech, yeah, I've Draytech, I've used their routers before. So a lot of people know. And from a customer's perspective, a lot of customers have heard of Dratec from a business product perspective, number 2. So, quick stats about Dratec. Over 1.2 million products sold. I guess the vanity numbers. 40,000 companies plus use Dratec. Highest verticals really for us. Public, private sector, government, retail in particular. Food in particular, which is great for me. I will only shop at places that have Dratec routers, which means Greggs predominantly. So, yeah, I'm really pleased about that. And we have 30% of the SME market share. If you're going to position Dratec, and I know when I talk to Cisco and Meraki and other vendors who are in pure what I call core data center, enterprise class, we're mid-market, right? If it was contact center, it would be up to 2,500 users. That's where I see the positioning of Dratec. SMB, mid-market, same thing. Different vendors measure it different ways, but it's pretty much the same. Over 900 companies plus are using Dratec ACS, which is the management console. And our biggest deployments is 120,000 nodes. Nodes means routers or access points or switches. So that's pretty large. From a management opportunity, it's good because you can manage all of Dratec's portfolio remotely. And correct me if I'm wrong, Mihai, we might have a switch or an access point sat behind a router that's not a Dratec, and we could still manage it.
Yeah, it's all good.
See, I remembered. It's good. From a partner perspective, it's a great revenue stream as well. So this is reoccurring revenue. It's a license per node that occurs once per year. And you get renewed through Dratec. And Mihai's going to cover that. Lots of awards, like a lot of the vendors in this room today. We've just won the Technology Excellence Awards for 2022. The file was so big, you know, it's got the same one, it's here, and we don't need to repeat it. So today we're talking about high-speed networking, what's available for customers, where they're moving to. Interested to hear your comments on this, and the kind of speeds and feeds from an end customer marketplace, and what solutions we have for that. Again, trying not to talk about model numbers. So we've got DSL, we've got fibre networks, we've got cellular LTE or 4G. Why would I talk about that? Because we have lots of customers that use Dratec routers, not just for the cable or DSL solution, but also for the LTE solution, otherwise known as 4G. So if their internet connectivity goes down, the router will flip over and actually use the mobile data card in the back of the product. That's why we talk about it. This was interesting at the DTX show a couple of weeks ago. We had a couple of customers on that were using Dratec routers with Starlink. So their DSL wasn't particularly great, so they actually load balanced between Starlink and their regular DSL connection. And wireless WAN and 5G in rural locations. It still proves to be a problem. I'm still getting asked, you know, do we just have routers that operate on nothing but SIM cards? And yes, you can run them on just SIM cards, but it's kind of alluding to the point that we need to get some other load balancing connectivity in there as well. From a local and area perspective, Wi-Fi is so important because of the switching capacity, the number of users that are hanging off the back of the equipment, particularly access points. And somebody asked me this morning, that quality of service, how do we not guarantee, but how do we ensure that it's the same experience for everyone as the access points start to get congested or the routers start to get congested? So quickly looking at the options. So ADSL2, ADSL, up to 24 meg. We still have some out there. I remember the good old days. If anybody else is proud enough to put their hands up and say they remember a 56k modem or a 14.4 modem, where you heard that noise, and such a propeller head, I actually knew what they were saying to each other. That's how bad it was. Anyway, you know, in some parts of the country, we're still using ADSL up to 24 meg, VDSL2 up to 80 meg, this is what I have at home. Fibre to the cabinet, so we've got the fibre coming out from the exchange into the cabinet, then copper, traditional telephone line into the premises, very high speed DSL. The next one's interesting, GFAST. So we've still got the same kind of connectivity, so we're fibre to the cabinet, again, pair of copper wires into the house. So GFAST was originally being rolled out by OpenReach, and they actually paused this rollout in 2020 in favour of fibre to the premises. That's why you'll find some of the routers that we have have got a GFast option because some of it was deployed. Am I right in saying Mihai, particularly Isle of Man?
Isle of Man, yeah, they use super vectoring. It's not GFast. It's
Yeah.
a bit different. It's a
Yeah.
different VDSL
35B.
profile.
Yeah. So we do have routers for this. So whether it's VDSL, ADSL to GFast or fibre to the premises, we have a product in the range from Dratec. Our product range is quite concise, so there is a business fit for every environment. So we don't have millions of access points. We have access points that have particular fits across business applications, and that's the same for routers. Wi-Fi standards. 12 years ago, I was stood on QVC selling wireless N. Seemed like a really good idea at the time. QVC were really keen. I think we sold 200 and got 400 back. So from a brand perspective, it was really, really good because it opened the world up to the vendor I was working for at the time, but it wasn't quite ready. But wireless N has been around about 15 years. That's a long time. And when we look at where we are with AX, it's not been around long. It's going to be here for a while, and it's going to take a long time to embed. But yeah, wireless N, 150 meg, maximum throughput, fantastic. Overtaken by AC, and even up to a couple of years ago, AC was still reaching its maturity from a wireless perspective. Wi-Fi 5, 866 meg. And now we're into AX. There's been some AX products out there for a couple of years now. I think Netgear Nighthawk was probably one of the first. It's still there. Looks like a spaceship. I think there's a competition from vendors to see how many aerials you can actually get on the box and still make it look kind of attractive. If you look at the Nighthawk when it's on its stand, it looks like the aerials, anyway, the aerials go through it. So that's quite impressive. Aerials equal spatial streams equal faster throughput. And you'll notice on some of our routers in AX, we've got 2 aerials, we've also got inbuilt aerials as well. So doesn't mean we've got 2 spatial streams, we've got additional spatial streams inside. And if we look at our AX router, Nelly mentioned the model number, but I won't. The AX router, that's throughput of 2.4 gig using 4 spatial streams. So these are the product options. As I said earlier, Ethernet, fibre, ADSL, VDSL, single WAN, multi-WAN. Some of the routers at load balance are 4+ from a connectivity perspective. So you've got dual WAN, you've got SIM, you've got wireless WAN. So if any of those connectivity, that internet connectivity goes down, it will switch over automatically, or it can load balance. And this is the third time I'm going to say it. These are business class products for business. These are business products for business class applications. We don't make consumer products. That's the third time I've said it. And then finally, I talked earlier about product fit by application. A couple of model numbers. This is the 802. You plug it in the wall, creates a wireless mesh with other Dratec access points. You can have up to 8 access points in a mesh. 903, it's rock solid. It's been with Dratec for a few years now. Has a built-in switch in there, which is particularly handy when you want to take feeds out of this. The 9112 looks like a smoke alarm. Again, particularly popular in hotels, discrete locations where they want to mount it on the wall or mount it on the ceiling, and it needs to be discrete, but it still gives us that AC connectivity from a wireless perspective. AP960 and AP1060, both AX access points, and as I've said before, it's business products. The kind of densities on these, the kind of number of clients that can be connected to these access points is 256. So these, I've got an AP1000, which is its predecessor at home, and a few people connect to it. But I know if I had a party and I had 256 people, I wouldn't have to change the access point. And if I was going a little bit further, I'd put in the 918R, the external access point, and have it ruggedized outside. But actually these work quite well in some houses. Okay, that's it from me. Bit of a whirlwind, hard to do in 10 minutes, and I'm sure I'm over. I'm going to hand over to Mihai, who's going to talk about ACS. Thank you.
Hi guys. Right, so Peter has presented us with the Dratec estate. So here comes the question, how do we manage all those network devices and routers? Since our network grows bigger and bigger, we sometimes find it difficult to manage our networks. So here comes ACS. We'll cover how we automate project rollouts, what the benefits of using ACS are, and how this is implemented throughout. Good. So ACS stands for Auto Configuration Server, and it's intended for use only on DRETEC environments. So it's not going to work with third-party products. Obviously, it's optimized for desktop use, and also it's optimized for mobile or tablet use. There are a few flavors of ACS, one of which is completely free, called ACS Standard, in which you can do basic tasks such as configuration backups, automation of configuration backups, firmware upgrades, and configuration changes on the CPEs. It's kind of a gateway drug to more advanced ACS flavors, such as premium or self-hosted. The self-hosted version of ACS means that you take the software and you install it on your prem or on a cloud somewhere, therefore improving security. Some key features of ACS. The most important one, I would say, is provisioning. And looking at that, or looking at the classic way of managing estates, is by logging in on a particular device and performing changes. But what if you have 1,000 of those devices out there and you want to perform those changes on all of them? Obviously, that's it's not suitable to log in on each and one of them. Therefore, with ACS, you can create a profile. For instance, enable SSL throughout my estate, and then apply that profile to a network or to the parent network, which basically will enable SSL throughout. Maintenance, so you can schedule a firmware upgrade to happen at midnight or on a Sunday. You can apply that to your entire estate or just a few devices. Reporting, the reports can be run on a loop basis, so you have the option to do snap reporting about anything, traffic overview, firmware overview. You can customize reports, such as is HTTPS enabled on all my devices or disabled, or any customization possible. So, monitoring and statistics. You can have a quick look at what's going on in terms of traffic utilization, if there are any anomalies in terms of traffic usage. If some users create huge amounts of traffic, then this can be easily identified through monitoring and statistics. VPN wizard, so creating VPN tunnels between DRETEC points can be easier when using ACS. Hotspot, web port, and SD-WAN. We'll be looking at those points in the next slides. And how it works, TR69 explained, the provisioning, firmware updates, and diagnostics and reporting. Quick look of at how this works. ACS uses TR069, which is an industry standard, stands for Technical Report 069, and 069 comes from the UDP port that it uses, which is 8069. The traffic is completely encrypted between the server and the CPEs, and you have control over the ACS server from an endpoint. To deep dive in how this actually works, the router will dial onto the ACS server. The ACS server is going to send a set of instructions. Initially, that would be what are the WAN statistics, how many users are connected to the network, And obviously then the actual CPE replies with those details. Furthermore, when you are logged in on ACS and, for instance, you want to perform some configuration changes, that means the ACS is going to initiate the connection to the actual CPE. And how that works is going to send a connection request. The ACS has a username and password that uses on that connection request. The CPE recognizes that. It's going to allow the ACS server to connect, and then comes the communication between the two. It can be anything configuration or global provisioning related. Now, .dev files. I don't know if you came across .dev files. You all know that a factory defaulted Draytech router comes down to a username and password admin, and a default configuration, which is kind of a blank configuration. But using .dev files means that you can actually standardize the default configuration of the router. So instead of router reverting to admin and admin as username and password, you can revert to various different details, such as the radius credentials of the DSL interface, or the ACS URL and credentials. So it can be anything in the configuration. And by the way, this service is offered by NetXL, so do come to our stand and have a chat. And now let's look at the life cycle of this. Assuming that a .dev file was installed on one of the routers and then sent to one of your customers, the part of the configuration was obviously pointing the device to the ACS server. The device reaches the ACS server and automatically downloads a configuration based on its MAC address. And then the new configuration is applied to the router with the new WAN credentials, the TR69 parameters, and so on and so forth. This is how a global parameters profile looks like on ACS. There are a few ways in which you can create a profile. It's either by using a pure XML file or just using the router's configuration page to create a profile. And let's look to the benefits of using auto-provisioning. Reduces cost of deployment. Obviously, if the router has a .dev file installed on it, you can send it to your customer, and that will speed up the project rollout. Factory default configuration is no longer an issue, since if someone by mistake factory defaults the router, that means the router is going to automatically register back on ACS with its factory default configuration. And if that particular network has a global provisioning profile attached to it, and there is a hardware fault along the way, replacing a router means that automatically is going to pick up the configuration related to that network. Yeah, a bit of monitoring and diagnostics. Full transparency in what you can see, what monitoring details you can see about a device. Actually, the ACS is going to keep track, historically speaking, about WAN usage and and about users that were connected to the device. If you reboot the router, those details are going to be lost on that device, but that doesn't happen when you are using ACS. And a quick look at how we do firmware upgrades. You enable the firmware upgrade job, you schedule it, you select the firmware that you want to apply, and then either you select the devices that you want to apply the firmware to, or you purely apply it to the entire network. A snap of reporting. So there are various reports I've mentioned earlier. You can basically customize any type of reports, and you can run them on a cycle basis, so every week or every month, regarding any part of the router's configuration. And let's talk about SD-WAN a little bit. SD-WAN means different things for different vendors. So Dratec has a different implementation when referring to SD-WAN. Probably TP-Link has a different one, and Aruba the same way. Dratec focuses on WAN reliability. So imagining that we have quality of service and multi-WAN connections on a particular router, that's all good, the quality of service works, but what if one of the WAN links has large delays or jitter? Then the SD-WAN can decide, can monitor the quality of a particular WAN and move critical traffic across the better internet connection. And a bit of history of what happened with the usage, with the interface mean option score as well, the latency across the WAN links. And coming back to monitoring SD-WAN allows you to see applications that are in use behind a particular router. So we can see the usage sorting is by application, and the VoIP application has the most use on this particular network, and that can be changed to clients. So you can see usage by clients behind a router. It's worth mentioning that SD-WAN is not supported on all Dratec devices, so older devices don't support that, but they can still be managed through ACS. Thank you. Any questions? You can ask now, or you can come to our stand later. Sure.
There's a feature split between the free product and the extra tiers.
Yeah, there are some key features that are missing, one of which is provisioning, and that's worth mentioning because it's one of the most important ones. User management as well, so you can't have multiple users logging in on the same platform, you only have one with the standard version. And you can't create new networks, so you can't basically separate your customers per network, so everyone is under one network. But still very useful nonetheless, so it's quite good.
Any other questions? Does it comes the service? Does it comes with the hardware, or you have to purchase the license alone?
Yes, the standard version is cloud-based. You don't need anything. Then there is a premium version, cloud-based as well, which involves a cost. And then there is a self-hosted version. So you take the software and install it on your hardware or on the cloud, which is paid for as well. The last two, both are premium services.
Okay.
But the hardware, you must have your own hardware for the self-hosted version.
Thank you.
Is it done on a client basis, the number of devices you've got? Is it, how's the charging go? Is it charged per device or?
That's a very good question, because actually ACS3 is cheaper to run compared to the previous version. And yes, it comes per device, per node. But when looking at network devices, such as switches and access points, those count as a half node.
Right. Okay.
So making it very, very cheap for access points and switches and routers as well. I mean, the cost involved, it's negligible. It's a negligible amount. So
Yeah, but
um,
it's done
per
per
year.
Yeah, so per year you pay, I don't know, £1 for a router or something, and
Yes.
50p for a switch or whatever. So it all mounts up. Yeah.
And any
That's how you
add,
make your money.
yeah, any added nodes
Always do
later.
better.
Any added nodes later, they will be calculated pro rata basically. Yeah.
No, that's fair enough.
And I think that, you know, as we were saying earlier, we look at retail customers in particular who want to manage their entire estate. You know, we went through them through COVID and the pandemic, and it was great. They had ACS, they could log into the estate whenever they wanted. In fact, ACS told them there was a problem before. I use ACS. I know I said we only make business products, but I use ACS at home. So I always know when the kids have unplugged the access point, unplugged the hairdryer in, it tells me.
I must admit, I've used Draytec routers for years personally, and brilliant.
Rock solid.
Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Wouldn't use anything else for a router.
That's good. What about broadband when it's not a DSL line? What's
Well, I've used it both on ADSL and on Virgin Media connections, where obviously you're going through you turn their router into a modem and do it that way.
yeah?
Setting that up can be a little bit more of a challenge at the outset, but afterwards it's brilliant.
Yeah, I'm using the same at home. So Virgin modem mode and Draytec.
Yeah, I've got one that's got the guy's got two Virgin internet services into different parts of his estate, and we've got the router set up so the business service is primary, but if that falls over it goes onto his personal service because his house is on site elsewhere, so we can flip between the two. That's the one that takes two, can't remember the number of it now,
29, 27
Yeah, that's the one, yeah. He's got two,
RJ45s.
two WAN ports,
Yeah.
not an ADSL port.
Yes.
It's good. They're good.
Don't get me started on the 29, 27, we're here all day.
Good.
Sorry, Matt,
I'll
we're
rest,
well
I'll rest.
overshot.
No, it's fine. It's absolutely fine. It's we're really lucky today because we've obviously got like a mix of vendors to talk to, and I'm sure you're going to hear later on from TP-Link about their Wi-Fi offering. And I think it's important to remember that actually you can mix this stuff. So if I look at my home installation, I use a Draytec router with a Ubiquiti set of switches and TP-Link access points. So I've kind of gone quite the way across the gamut. And fun enough, with a pointing aerial as well, and a bold smart lock. So I need a bit of a Aruba in there somewhere, I think, and to make it a bit more interesting.
Got some snom phones.
Yeah, the snom phone. So where we go from here for the rest of the day? So we've got a pizza truck set up outside for a bit of lunch. I'm not sure it's quite ready, but it's very nearly ready. Obviously, for you to help yourselves too. So grab yourself another coffee, another tea. I'm going to take my screwdrivers and go and stand outside the toilets by that smart lock. So if anyone's interested, come and have a look, and I'll show you how to put one in. After we've had a bite to eat, we've got TP-Link, then we have Aruba, and then we have pointing, and then we have Snom. And we're going to try and sort of not fast pace it, but I don't think we want to drag the day out for you guys. We want to make sure that you get everything that you need to know through the day. So I think originally we said we finish at 4, but who knows, maybe we finish sort of 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock. We'll just see how those presentations go. I've noticed a few more people turning up, making their way through the traffic. So there's no set agenda other than that's the running order, roughly, that we'll be following, and we'll probably have a little break between 2 of those. So help yourself to some more tea, more coffee, and come look at the bold smart lock.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mina.
I really like this though. I mean, I think this is quite good.
They're very cool.
Main door. I wouldn't mind main door.
Yeah, they're very cool. They're very cool.
So near Bath, Chippenham. So
I should have done it shorter.
Doesn't matter. I'm sorry. Doesn't matter. It's getting back to the style of the vendor that we all need to do. All vendors need to do to on bashing. They've all been looked away to.
Read about it and do it.
We are based in Reading. Focus products on networking and communications, and we got our own R&D, research and development of our own TP-Link. Just organization brief, so we are in plus 170 countries and regions. Right. Now in the UK, we entered the market in 2010. Our UK based staff is 50 plus, and we have our own UK dedicated marketing and graphics team or account management, and our own local TP-Link technical teams. Now, another point to notice as well, most of our business products, almost all, they come with a limited lifetime warranty on all the business products. Now, I'll just give you a quick one on our TP-Link Omada SDN. Okay. So, what SDN is in the market is, SDN simply means it's software-defined networking. Anybody heard about what SDN is? Right. Okay. Perfect. Okay, so we got other manufacturers doing the same thing as well. So we got Unify. You guys have SDN as well?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so what SDN is, just in the simple language, is so your entire networking is under one software. So you got your entire switches, your access points, and your routers just under one software. And the good part about that is you can access it from anywhere in the world. So you can sit at home anywhere in London, Manchester, and then access it from of other sites as well. Right. The three main products that we have on the SDN platform is our access points, our switches, and our Omada routers. Some of the key features of the SDN platform is, yes, definitely you got a centralized cloud management. You got something called as zero-touch provision. Now, zero-touch provision is something that, say for example, a customer wants access points or switches, and you want it to be like a plug and play. So what you do is, you just take the serial number of that particular access point, you put it in your system, and you package the access point and send it directly to the customer. All the customer needs to do is plug it to a RJ45 cable. So you don't necessarily need to go to the premises to do the configurations. So the access point, once it is plugged into the RJ45 cable, you can actually you can download the configuration, and you yourself can do the configuration sitting at home as a system integrator. Right. The other thing is, yes, you have easy network monitoring. You can also assign different management roles. So this can be very useful for you guys as well as installers. So you become the main administrator of that particular system. So if you're giving post services to your customers and they ask you that, oh, I have a problem with my system, or I need to add more access points, or there are some more configuration changes I want to do, you can simply log into the cloud management portal, log into their network, and just do all the changes. Because you are a main administrator, you can give more admin rights to your fellow colleagues as well with their own accounts. And there are certain times that the customers wants to see what the network looks like. So you can just give them as a viewer role, which means as a viewer role, they can't do the management changes. They can't do any configuration, but they can actually see what the network looks like. We also have higher security. So things like VPN, firewall. So we don't have a very powerful firewall, but we have a firewall that has like a minimum functionalities. I have to say this, we have a lot of customers, a lot of my customers as well using our Omada, but they use Dratec as the main router. That's most of the business prefer the Dratec router with our systems. Right. All of our access points, they come with the latest WPA3 encryption. So WPA3 encryption is something that encrypts your Wi-Fi passwords. So when you're trying to put your Wi-Fi passwords on the system, so that's called the WPA encryption. And WPA3 is the latest one in the market. Our access points can also do the captive portal. So, you know, when you go to airports or pubs, you get like free Wi-Fi. You actually get like a splash page. So you can actually design these splash pages on our system as well. One of the reason our Omada with TP-Link, we do say has a high reliability as most of these points. Because this is cloud-based, we have a 24/7 automated failure detection and geographically isolated backup servers and reliable products. For our cloud, we use Amazon's AWS servers. The closest one to us is based in Ireland, and if anything goes wrong to that, we also have backup servers in Singapore and US. Now, because of GDPR data, everything is taken into consideration with all of that. Wi-Fi heat map simulator. Now, for some of the customers, say for example, if you go on site and if you don't know how many access points is gonna cover that particular area, we got on the SDN platform itself, we got the Wi-Fi heat simulator, so you can actually input a building design in that particular Wi-Fi simulator, and you can actually design it in a way that how many access points is going to cover up that entire building. So you can give like a heat map simulator. Apart from this, if you have any other bigger projects, you can always get in touch with NetXL, because from NetXL, then if it comes to us, we would do a free site survey for you guys. The site survey can be in-house or we can actually go on premises as well and do it. And the good part is that we do it free of charge, but it has to come from NetXL to us. Now, for all the products to go on the cloud, we have our Omada controllers. Now, I'm just going to talk about these two controllers first. So these two controllers, we call it as a hybrid controllers. So we have a hardware controller and the software controller. Both of the controllers, we don't charge anything for the licensing cost. There is no licensing cost involved over here. It's only for the hardware controller, the OC200 or 300, you need to pay as the hardware cost, just as a one-off charge. You can see the management scale. So OC200 can take 100 access points, 20 switches, 10 routers. OC300 can take 500 access points, 100 switches and 100 routers. The software controller, on contrary, needs to be installed on a PC or a software that runs 24/7, and it can take up till 10,000 access points and switches and routers. Now, downsides to this one is on a small scale installment, it's always better you go for a hardware controller, because it's kind of a plug and play to your switch or a router. Because some of the houses or installments may not have a PC or a server that runs 24/7. So it's much more better like in school environment where they already have a VMware server or they have some specialized PC sitting 24/7 on. Right. Pricing models is just the hardware cost, and this one is free, and again, no licensing cost involved. Now, coming to this part, this is a pure cloud-based controller. So we called it as a CBC. We have not yet deployed the pricing strategies for this one. So this is a pay-as-you-go service. So if you are putting an access point on the network, you have to pay for that particular access point on a yearly subscription. Right. We are trying, it will be by end of this week, Leonard?
The online purchase will be available around the middle of next week.
Okay.
The channel purchase availability will be around the end of this month.
Okay. So NetXL will be having the prices for by end of this month for the CBC. Yeah. So as I said, this is a pay-as-you-go service. Plus, the reason that it is pay-as-you-go is because the management scale is unlimited. You do not require any hardware or software for this, because this is like a pure cloud. It sits directly into the cloud. And you have automatic transmit power adjustment and the zero-touch provision that is inclusive in the cloud-based controller. Right. Just keep in mind the zero-touch provision is not applicable to the hardware and the software controller. But you can achieve it, but you have to do like port forwarding, and there is another step to do that. And you also have a management app for the Omada, so you can just on the go, even if you're traveling somewhere and you have a customer calling that, oh, something is wrong, you don't have a laptop, you can just log into the app and just check all the details and just give a call to the customer. just talking about the access points, I'm just gonna go very quickly on the access point. I won't be discussing a lot on the models. So these are all AX, which are the latest access points, and these are all ceiling mounts. Then these are our AC standard ceiling mount as well. Then you have wall plate access points. So these wall plate access points mostly go with like hotel, student dormitories, just rooms in wall. Some of the wall plate access points, they are Ethernet port. If you have them at the bottom, they can even power on another PoE device. So say for example, if I have an install where I need Wi-Fi, but I also need to power on just one PoE camera, I can maybe just use this one and use one of its Ethernet port to power that particular camera. Then you have your outdoor access points. EAP225 is a AC, and we have lately introduced the AX standard, which is the EAP610 outdoor. And then we also have the Jetstream switches. One thing that we were missing, one of the portfolio that we were missing with TP-Link is the 16-port PoE switches, which we will be introducing them very soon. The 16 port, so we have from 8 port up till 24 and 48 port. Most of them are PoE. I'm just gonna go quickly on this. And these are all of your smart switches. So again, starting from 5 port and then 24 port as well. Right. All of these switches, they are all applicable with the SDN platform. If there are any installs where you just want without the cloud, you can put them as a standalone as well. You did not necessarily put on the SDN. Now, some of the installs, now because these switches are management switches, there are certain installs where you might just want like plug and play switches. We have unmanaged switches as well, which are simply plug and play, and you can get all the details of those products from NetExcel. Lastly, Omada routers. These are all VPN routers, which are WAN interface, but they don't come with the VDSL, that's ADSL or VDSL. Right. So we already have ER605 and ER7206 already out in the market. One good part about the ER605 is it has a USB port that supports LTE backup. So you can have a failover just in case if the WAN interface goes down, then you can have the LTE support as the backup. I'm just gonna quickly show you the interface that we have. So this is my account where I have all of these different networks. So in theory, I can have more than 100 different networks on my email address. So I got my we've shifted just recently in our new Green Park office. So this is my office in Reading. I'm just gonna click on launch. So this is a live network setup at the moment, right? I have 4 switches, got 4 access points, and there are 72 clients connected at the moment. I can just see all the devices which are being connected. So this is my main router. I can do configuration settings from here itself, just using NetExcel's Wi-Fi, right? Even if I click on my switches, I can see what is being connected to per port, and I can make changes to those ports. Or even if I want to restart a particular port, say for example, a PoE camera is not working, I can just restart that one unique PoE port. Right. These are all the different clients that are connected. If I want, I can block any client as well, or give them rate limit. Because there was a time that we saw some of the guys in the marketing team doing a lot of downloads. So we had to actually block. Any marketing people? No? Okay. So we had to actually rate limit them to certain. Right. And yeah, it's pretty. The graphical user interface is pretty simple as well. You have your logs. These logs become very important because if you have any complaint from any customer and you can't rectify it, it will be me rectifying it. But if I can't do it as well, I would send it directly to my HQ, because I have because we are like through manufacturers, we have our HQ and our R&D within our reach. I can just email them and say that, oh, I have an issue. They would be asking for me the backup file. I will be sending the backup file, and with the logs they can see what is there. And this is a place where you add your administrator accounts. You can add them as a local user or a cloud user. You can give them whatever the site privileges are and the roles. So you can get in as administrator or a viewer as well. Right. So yeah, pretty simple. That's it. Any questions? Oh yeah. So yeah. So that does automatic the topology of how your network is. So this is my topology in my office, and this is a place that you can do the simulation of your building. So you can actually add the layout of your building, and once it is over here, you can actually mark the walls. So if they are brick walls or any lead lined stuff like that, you can drag and drop whatever access point that you require, and you can just click on simulate. So it's gonna actually simulate the entire building for you. Right. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward to use. Or if any questions, anything, you straight away come to NetExcel or directly to us. So, oh yeah.
Oh, sorry, I thought you asked. You're taking questions.
Oh yes, I am. Yeah.
About blocking clients.
Yep.
Through the console. So how are the clients get to be blocked? Like, is blocking what?
So it indicates the IP address.
MAC address.
So we can do it either way. We can either block it with IP address, or we can either block it with MAC address.
Right. Okay.
Or if I want, I can even set up like a set of IP addresses that can be blocked or whatever, vice versa. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Any question?
Cool.
No.
Okay.
Thank you, Clark.
All right. Thank you.
I think we'll probably just jump straight into Ollie. Yeah? You ready? Everyone's really had plenty of time for lunch to get coffees and bits.
Why?
Do you need anything?
That should be right, thanks. I just got the charger in as well. Yeah, well, good afternoon, everyone, and thanks so much for having us, NetExcel, and thanks for attending the meeting. So, yeah, my name's Ollie, and Sam's just sat in the back there, and we're here to present everything Aruba Instant On. So we specifically just focus on this part of the Aruba portfolio, and yeah, we're just going to give you a quick sort of 10-minute introduction into the portfolio. Don't want to bombard you with information, just coverage. Then if you want to come see any tests, any demos, just head over to the front of the room. But yeah, Aruba Instant On. So 99% of the organizations in the world are SMB. And a major limitation of SMBs is their financial capacity. Perhaps they don't have the technical expertise as well. And yet networking is a vital part of their operations, particularly in the modern day. And so Aruba, a brand with over 20 years experience within the enterprise network, incredibly credible brand themselves, working on projects such as Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, the Ryder Cup, we saw that there was a real opportunity to leverage the enterprise-grade technology in a small business package where basically simplicity is the absolute backbone of everything. And that led to the birth of Aruba Instant On. And so it is that enterprise-grade technology, but in that small business package to an affordable price. And like I said, simplicity is everything, and that's what Aruba Instant On is all about. There we go. And this is just basically a quick overview of what the brand is all about, really. So if you look in the bottom corner over here, that's the whole portfolio. And the whole thing is cloud managed by one product family. And if you look up here onto the HP computer screen, that is what is our portal interface with Aruba Instant On. So I think the first point to touch here is that the whole portfolio, bar the one product family, is cloud managed, so it could be remote managed. So wherever you are, whether you be sat in the comfort of your home or away, you can manage your network at the comfort of your hand if you wanted to download the app, or if you wanted to sort of log in on your computer and go through from there, you can do that also. It's a very, very common interface between the two, so it's not like you've got more benefits from managing your phone or managing on the computer. It's very similar. And so we basically wanted it to be a single pane of glass. So you had that common user experience, but also kept it sort of as simple and effective as possible, to make it as ease of use. And that brings us nicely on to the next point, easy to use. As I said, simplicity being the backbone, it should be as easy to use as possible. And so you can sort of set the solution up and have your network up and running within 5 minutes max. So we actually had one of our distributors' 10-year-old son. He managed to unbox the portfolio and set up his own network from home in the space of 5 minutes. He kind of went a bit LinkedIn viral, but you don't have to be technical at all. Like I said, they're trying to keep it as simple and easy as possible, and that's what it's all about. Superb performance. So as I mentioned earlier, it is that enterprise grade technology, but at an affordable price. So essentially, even if you have a look at some of the products we've shown people today, is that if you look on the back of the Instant On products, they're actually labeled the same as the enterprise products. And that's because essentially it is the exact same hardware. But what they've done is, in order to distinguish between the two portfolios, is that a couple of the features and functionalities have just been restrained in order to have that difference between like the small business performance and the enterprise grade performance as well. Value and flexibility, the sort of ease and simplicity around Aruba Instant On doesn't just stop in sort of the hardware itself, but also how you purchase it as well. So with Aruba Instant On, it is just a one-time payment. So there's no need to buy any license fees, any subscription fees, any fees sort of related for the cloud management portal. As soon as you buy the technology, everything is included within that. And that is basically just a quick summary of what sort of the brand's all about. I think it's important to touch on a few points here because a lot of people aren't aware that there's like the small business side of things being Instant On and the enterprise side of Aruba. So a couple of key differences between the two is that we would first of all define a small business as around sort of like up to 100 employees. And when you're looking at deploying the technology, we currently have a 25 networking device limit. So that would be 25 between access points and switches. That is the case right now. We are looking to sort of bring things into the near future. But if anyone wanted to talk more about that, then again, just come over to the stand. And yeah, that's basically just a quick look at what we're all about. I think just to touch on the portfolio itself. So this is the access points that we've got. So as you can see on the left hand side, 5 of the indoor access points, 1 desk mounted, 1 outdoor. So I think if we start with the indoor access points, as you move up from left to right, the features and functionalities of each access point increases, but also so does the price point as well. So for example, if you took it as say number of devices connecting, AP11 you're probably looking at around 50, and as you make your way all the way up to the brand new AP25, that's like 100 plus clients, and that it'll sort of determine which use case you're putting the access points into. In the middle here you can see the Instant On AP22. So this was our first Wi-Fi 6 certified access point. And CRN, who are the leader in IT channel news, they made this product to be, it won the CRN networking category product of the year. So a really, really cool product. Luckily got a really good amount of stock on it at the moment as well, which is always handy. And yeah, just a really high quality performing product. All of the access points on the indoor that are ceiling mounted have been designed to direct their frequency sort of directly downwards to ensure that the devices that are connected have the best performance, because you wouldn't want on those ones it sort of be omnidirectional, because you wouldn't have your phone sort of next to the ceiling. As you move across, so the desk mounted access point over here, so this is the AP11D. Now this one can act in routing mode and actually has a couple of ports underneath it, so it does have a PoE port included as well, which is always handy, and yeah, can send and both receive messages. Final one to touch on, AP17, our only outdoor access point at the moment. Again in stock, which is nice, but this one is omnidirectional because obviously you do need it outdoors. And yeah, that's basically the wireless portfolio in a nutshell. I think one thing to touch on here is that when you look at maybe some of our competitors, for example, Ubiquiti, they have a lot of access points, and it can maybe make it difficult to choose, but also it might look like they could serve other use cases where we can't. That's not the case. So with the Instant On access points, there is a direct replacement against each of the Ubiquiti's one, so don't feel like you're missing out on a specific customer. And we like to just keep it as simple as possible. As I said, keep referring back to that word because that's what it's all about really. Switching. Yeah, so this is the other side of the portfolio. I touched on earlier the fact that one of the product families isn't cloud managed, and that's the 1430 series, pretty new, just come to the market recently in the last couple of months. And again, similar to the access points, as you move up from left to right, features and functionality increase, but also the price point does as well. So sort of as you move up, obviously being unmanaged, you can still go in sort of locally and configure the switch from that side, but essentially just plug and play, up and running really quickly. And then as you move up to sort of the smart managed switches, this is where the differences come in. So you're sort of looking at around partial PoE with the 1830. As you move up to the 1930, you have an increase in some PoE capabilities. And then as you go up to the 1960, that's when you really start to see some of the differences. Really high performing switch, so it supports stacking. There's also aggregators within as well. And it also does class 6 PoE as well. So in the switches down here, they're sort of focusing on class 4, so around 30 watts per port. Whereas when you get into the 1960, you're looking at like 60 watts per port. So if you wanted to, say, power a 360 degree spinning security camera, that's more going to be sort of your go-to. So again, quite a nice comparison. When you look at the competitors, there are quite a lot of switches and families to choose from as well. We've tried to keep it as simple as possible. And yeah, there's going to be a replacement, as I said earlier, with the other competitors with the switching that we have on offer. So one of the final things we just wanted to touch is that we've got your back. So Aruba, a massive part of Aruba as an organisation, so not just the small business side, but the enterprise side as well, is the support that we give, and it's something that we're really proud of as well. So essentially, even though you're buying a small business portfolio, small business brand, you still get access to that enterprise level of support, and where you actually get put through to the same guys who deal with our enterprise customers, so your Tottenhams, your Ryder Cups, as you do as if you were with a small business as well. So this is the offering that we have regarding warranty and support. So in the access points, you can get that 2-year standard warranty and all of the sort of aspects that come with that. So next business day arrival on the part replacement for a limited period of time. And again, it's just sort of 24/7 telephone support, 90 days, and so on and so forth, as you can see. You do have the option to increase that level of support. So if you did want to go in and buy one of those foundation care packages, that's also available for you. Essentially just extends the level that you have available, and obviously you have access to those top sort of aspects available for a longer period of time. Switching. A really cool part about our switching side is that you do have a limited lifetime warranty, which is fantastic. And again, you can see sort of the high level of support that you have. So next business day ship, part replacement included anyway. But then if you wanted to upgrade to take advantage of those like key features for a longer period of time, that's when you can obviously go in and take advantage of the foundation care as well. And yeah, just to bring everything in as a summary, this is the brand promise. So simplicity, I know I've used that word the most, but the reason being is because it's meant to be so simple. That's what it's all about. Just keeping it as easy as possible. Don't need the technical expertise. Doesn't need to be any complicated. Just there for you, ready to go in minutes. Built-in security. So all of our products do have the latest security standards. So WPA3 authenticated as well. And you have sort of the opportunity within the cloud managed portal to go in and block clients and so on and so forth. Extraordinary performance. I said it is that enterprise grade level of technology, but in that small business package, you still get that vital experience that you want to have, but at a much more affordable price as well. No hidden fees, like I said, one-off time payment, no license fees, no subscription, no upgrade, all covered for you. And a trusted vendor, you know, Aruba have been in the game for over 20 years, you know, market leader in many cases and a lot of the Gartner's quadrants. We're not going to go down on you. You've got that enterprise level of support. And yeah, that is basically everything Aruba Instant on. We do have the cloud managed portal, which Sam and I will happily demonstrate over there. We weren't going to do it up here. We just sort of wanted to give you a quick summary of what the brand's all about. And that's it. Yeah, any questions?
Stackable switches, what speed will they connect up between the switches? 10 gig?
Yeah, so there's it's 10 gig, 10 gig uplinks as well that are available on the stackable switches.
You can stack up to 4 in a stack. Can you? Yeah. So if you've got more, then you do a separate stack.
Yeah.
And would you manage that via the cloud?
Yeah.
Either or as well.
Yeah, you can, with their switches as well, you can go in locally and then, but otherwise, and the stack as well, obviously doesn't have to be a physical stack. They can be in different areas, but it's still going to group them together as if it was one switch. Yeah, all included. Yeah, we can show you the mobile app as well on the side. Yeah.
So if you've got the remote, so if you can remotely manage it,
Yeah.
can you remotely, what's hosting it?
So for what's hosting the cloud management portal.
Yeah.
So the AWS for the cloud managed portal is where it's being hosted from. Then you've obviously got the app and so on. Yeah, exactly. Cool.
Thank you very much, Ollie.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
on the switch performance. Yeah.
Go. Shall I?
Yeah, go.
Yeah. Okay, so we've seen a number of routers and access points, and I'm here to talk to you about antennas, which is, in a way, one of the most overlooked aspects of any wireless connectivity scenario, because it's hard to look at data sheets, it's hard to see something you can't see, which is radio waves. So that's why Rachel said I'll give a little lesson on antennas. My goal today, I won't talk to you about any of our products. I will talk to you about antennas as a whole, how to evaluate them, how to make sense out of them. So hopefully you and your customers can get the most out of, be it a Draytech, a TP-Link, an Aruba, whatever radio, you can get the most out of those. So as you can imagine, pointing helps with that. Just a couple of minutes on pointing the brand. We are an antenna manufacturer. We've been manufacturing antennas for 20 years, based in South Africa, while the headquarters are in South Africa. In the beginning, we started under the same umbrella, defense and military antennas and commercial antennas. Today we part ways, and you're pointing, when you see pointing, we're talking commercial antennas only. We hold over 70 patents on our antennas. The design technique of some of the antennas, it's also patented. So it's not only the end product and the end technology, but also the process to get there, it's also patented. And the one commitment that we have is indeed to make wireless connections as stable, as reliable, and as consistent as possible. We cater for 5 different verticals, markets, whatever you want to call them. Fixed wireless access, that's our biggest market worldwide. But then we have, and that's anything which is a fixed location that requires broadband connectivity, be it home, office, business, anything that needs broadband and cellular connectivity. Then we have transportation and mobility, anything with wheels that needs cellular, 4G, 5G, or Wi-Fi or GPS. Maritime and coastal, in a sense, quite straightforward antennas. In the antenna aspect of it, the electrical aspect of it, the really particularity about it is the environment. All that salt, all that UV rays, that's what makes a good maritime antenna. Then we have machine-to-machine and IoT, that's your Internet of Things, and mining and tunneling, where we are world leaders in these little torpedo-like antennas. Why? So why do you need to know about antennas? Why should anyone care? Why do I need an antenna, right? So wireless mouse, no antenna. Smartphone, no antenna. Smartwatch, no antenna. Everything is wireless, nothing has an antenna. How can antennas help with your wireless connectivity? And even the routers that we get, be it TP-Link, be it Draytech, they come with antennas for free. Why should I take the time and just to explain my customer that they need an antenna? Not bringing a bus into the presentation just to tell you that we've sold thousands of antennas to buses, but I'm hopefully going to use an analogy that you can bring on to your customers and then pass on to the market. To a bus operator, there's one thing that they care about. One of the main things they care about is to get their passengers from point A to point B in a comfortable and a safe manner, right? Even though they're not the most expensive things, the wheels are pretty much liable for the security, because it might have the bus itself a lot of high-end braking systems, but if you don't have grip to the road, there's nothing you can do with those systems. And the comfort of the passengers as well. If the wheels, and you feel it in your own cars, if the wheels are starting to degrade, you will have more vibrations on the car, right? So tires are especially important. Now, if I have a £500,000 bus and I run it with these kinds of wheels, right? And my driver is speeding a bit too much, something comes in the way, he tries to hit the brakes, he has no grip, he will hit it. Or if he's doing a tight corner and it's too slippery, no quality tires, no quality wheels, no grip to the road, accident, right? So even though the wheels are not the most expensive part, they're not the most complex part of the system, they're actually a crucial part of the system. On the contrary, if the bus is run with proper pointing Pirelli wheels and you get enough grip to the road, you hit the brakes, you get grip, everything works as it should, right? For my analogy and for your analogy, once leaving this talk, look at the router as being your bus, look at the passengers as being your data, right? Look at the wheels as being your antennas. The better the antenna, the more grip you have to your router. Well, say router, say access point, right? Wireless device. The more grip you have, the more you can get out of that radio technology. So if the antenna is good, you will have a lot of grip, the information will flow, and think about the comfort, the vibrations felt as the reliability and the consistency I talked about with a proper antenna. So take this example every now from now onwards, if you need to tell someone what an antenna does for them. And this is what an antenna does for you. Why do you need external antennas? I won't spend the time going through all these details. I just want to give you another example. It must have happened to you living in a rural area, visiting someone in a rural area. You're on the phone outside of the building, but because of course you're in the UK, it's cold outside. So you step inside and the quality of the call just drops. And that's why when sometimes you're driving through remote areas, you see people on the phone by the window. They're not looking at the views. They have seen that view. It's just a place where they have signal, right? So there's a 15 dB typically difference in signal between outside of a building and inside. And 15 dB is enough to get you from a good power location to a cell edge or a rubbish, let's put it that way, signal area. It's also, and then you now may be thinking, okay, so it's brilliant when I'm on a poor location. No, it's also 15 dB will get you from a mid cell to an excellent location, okay? So also when areas where signal is good, if you want to get the most out of your system, you need to use an antenna. So now you get it. Why do you need an antenna? Why do you need an external antenna? Why do you need a pointing antenna? Most people that already understand the value of an antenna, they will think about three things when they're talking about antennas. Frequency range, gain, and price. As you can see, price is not an antenna characteristic, so disregard that to start with. But people want frequency antennas that cover as many frequencies as possible with a gain which is as high as possible, even though that's not necessarily the thing you need, and then they disregard everything else. To make a good, proper antenna, the one thing you need to look at before anything else is the radiation pattern. That's like your identity card for that product. It's the radiation pattern. Where is that gain pointing towards? And the second thing you need is to keep a balance across all of these. An antenna covers, a cellular antenna or a Wi-Fi covers a number of frequencies. For all those frequencies, you need to keep a balance of the gain, of the radiation pattern, and of the willingness to accept power. That's what we care about. That's what we work on, and that's what we try to bring to the market. Antennas with a brilliant radiation pattern and a very good balance between all of these aspects. So, what are radiation patterns? Because it's our biggest unique selling proposition. I need you guys to leave this room understanding what they are.
When we look at antenna radiation patterns, it is important to note that we are looking at two-dimensional renditions of what is happening in three-dimensional space. The horizontal plane, or azimuth plane, is a view of the pattern from the top, as if it was sliced down the middle. The vertical plane, or elevation plane, is a view of the pattern from the side, as if it was sliced down the middle. Antennas are often measured and advertised by how much gain they have, but this can be misleading without considering the propagation of signal on the radiation patterns. Omnidirectional antennas and gain. Increasing the gain on an omnidirectional antenna increases the reach of the radiation pattern. From 0 to 3 to 6 to 9 dBi, we can extend the reach of our antenna as required. Badly designed antennas can show high gain, but in reality offer inconsistent coverage. A good antenna needs more than just high gain. It needs consistency. What seems to be a good antenna when viewing the vertical plane can be a very bad antenna when comparing it to the horizontal plane. This is an example of a poorly designed antenna with seemingly high gain. It covers less than a well-designed antenna with lower gain. In practice, a bad antenna will receive signal from 1 or 2 locations if intentionally aligned that way, while a good antenna would receive signal from multiple locations, improving the reliability of the connection. Directional antennas and gain. To increase gain and focus a directional antenna's radiation pattern, we use reflectors to control how the waves propagate. In much the same way as with omnidirectional antennas, directional antennas can be constructed poorly and seem like they provide higher reach. This causes spotty reflection of the signal, and while reaching longer distances, provides very poor coverage. So now you know why Pointing puts so much design effort into our products. Our objective is to provide superior patterns performing consistently over the whole frequency band.
So basically, whenever I'm going shopping for an antenna and I see, this is the information I'll see, right? So I'll see it's a directional antenna. It says here it's an LTE, it's a cellular antenna, it covers the 5G frequencies as well. Gives me a MIMO configuration, how many radio ports or coaxial ports do I have on that antenna? Or antennas, let's put it that way. And it gives me a gain. This number tells me nothing more that that particular antenna on a given direction, on a given frequency, is capable of providing me with 11 dBi. What information here tells me that this antenna is a good antenna? Well, apart from this, Pointing and Expol 2, none, right? It's impossible to understand what this antenna is capable or is going to bring me. We need to start digging a bit deeper. And this means VSWR, I'm not going to go through that today, but this number needs to be below 2.5 for all the frequencies that I care about. Ideally, below 2. And gain. And this gain plot, it's telling me that a given antenna on a given direction for each of these frequencies, 700, 800, 900, you name it, has a peak gain of 11 dBi on the higher frequencies, and for example at this frequency 8 point something or 9. So even this doesn't tell me everything I need to know about the antenna. To know everything I need to know about that antenna, I need to look at the radiation pattern, and this is where is that gain pointed towards. Because if I have a directional antenna, my installation teams are going to get the antenna, install it, point it to where the mast is, set and forget, right? They're not going to be looking for where the best performance of that particular antenna is. So that's what makes a good directional antenna. Just for your reference, this is all simulated data. Everything you see on our datasheet is truly measured from our products, but this is how a good radiation pattern should look like. Ideally simulated, of course. You won't find this on commercial equipment, and this is how a bad radiation pattern will look like. Okay. So can I trust Pointing? Yeah, you don't need to trust me, but you can trust the clients that we have made happy throughout the years. Okay. So Here you see I picked this up on the internet. You see an installation here. I think it's in Scotland. I picked up the little NetXL box over there, so it was just a brilliant touch. So these guys are doing some routers, and they did. You can see they are using 2 different router manufacturers. Probably they're using 2 different SIM cards, using 2 different antennas. They get service from 2 different providers. As for your reference, we have sold over 100,000 antennas of these in Europe alone, right? I'm not talking about the world, as we are spread across the globe, but 100,000 antennas. Just for 2 operators in Norway and in Denmark, over 40,000 Expol 2s. And this is my favorite bit of all my use cases, which is a branch of bakeries in France that rely on our antennas, on the Expol 1, to sell their bread. So whenever someone asks me what do you do for a living, I say I help selling bread in France. Then this is our, as I said, one of our markets, fixed wireless access. Then we have the mobility, where we have all these trailers. They come from their factory with a MIMO 3. We have bus projects, over 2,000 pucks being installed in buses right as we speak in Portugal. Roadside assistance cars, police cars in Singapore, for example, ambulances in Spain. So we have a number of EPIC clients across the globe. And this is, as I said, Internet of Things. From little things, and the reason why I had my mouse over here, this is an antenna, just FYI. This little thing is an antenna on a cabinet. CCTV, fast deployment scenarios, electrical substation. This is in Iceland. This is a radar in an Ely port in Norway. This is in Poland. That one, I don't know where it is. This is from a British company called Videosoft. They're actually British. And it's a fast deployment CCTV camera. The CCTV camera is there. The puck antenna is over there. Here it's an electrical vehicle charger in Portugal as well. So, as a bottom line, what I would like you, these are the takeaways I'd like you to get from this talk today, right? Which is, regardless of the application, if it has a radio, it needs an antenna to make it run smoothly. Technically, what this means is I'll have higher throughputs, lower latencies, lower jitters. This is technically. In real life, what this means, it's your client will have fast access and reliable access to their information at a lower total cost of ownership, because you come to him and say you have this Draytech radio or this TP-Link radio, and then you tell him, well, and now you need to spend 200 quid more on an antenna, and they say, oh, that's over my budget. Well, is it? If you need to drive back, if you need to call your support team to drive back, or if you cannot, say a vending machine, if I have no signal and I cannot sell goods, or say any business that you can immediately measure that if they don't have connection, they're losing money, is it 200 quid too much? Probably not. And for you as a company, if you deploy everything with an antenna, with the right antenna, of course, you'll be spending more time doing more projects, deploying more projects, and selling more than driving back or on the phone troubleshooting something which is not working. As a little gift, I'll send the information. We'll send the presentation. If you scan the QR code, you'll see we have built, and it's still under construction, being finalized, an antenna selection tool where we walk you through a number of questions, and we help you make up your mind what antenna do you need for your application depending on where you are, the router you have. It makes it quite straightforward. From my end, thank you very much. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Any questions? No? Cool.
No.
Oh, no. Oh. Thank you everyone for coming. That's the end of all of our talks.